Oh my gosh, I'm feeling so cozy, you know? Like the kind of cozy where you want to sit your friend down, have an intervention with them, and be like, you need to get your shit figured out. Speaking of which, how are your New Year's resolutions going? What's up guys, it's Yes or No, and today we're having a talk about something I found very interesting. I don't know if you guys know what Strava is, but it's basically this like runners app and like bicycle app where people can log their mileage. And you know, at the beginning of every new year, people get super inspired and they join this app and they're like, I'm gonna run away the fears and the problems. So Strava has data from like 800 million users that basically show that January 19th is the day most people give up on their New Year's resolutions. But let me tell you something. Today's January 20th, and yours truly is still on top of every one of her New Year's resolutions. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please. So I thought, you know, because I'm the expert at New Year's resolutions, clearly, I would teach you guys how I've been keeping mine and hopefully get you re-inspired to like get back on that grind, jump back on that horse and yell, yeehaw, let's get 'em 2021, yeehaw. So first thing that's helped me is that I've actually focused this year. So I've kept the number of New Year's resolutions I have to only 3 things. And you should probably keep yours to 2 or 3 if you don't want to get sidetracked. So I actually had a goal that I really wanted to accomplish, but I didn't put it on my list, and I'll tell you guys what that is. I will stop texting and thinking about people who don't treat me the way I'd like to be treated. I will get there by watching and reading material about how to value myself, how to set boundaries, and how to show compassion for others. I'll internalize these lessons so that they are second nature. That's something that I really wanted to do this year, but I also had other things that I really wanted to do this year. So you know what I did with this thing? Freaking hit it. I never look at that. What's that? I don't know. Trash. That's something that'll get figured out next year, because if you really want to succeed, you gotta limit your scope of focus. So the second thing you're gonna want to do, as you might have noticed from that piece of trash, is that when it comes to your goals, you'll want to write them down. This is what we call self-parenting. And you gotta have like a specific date that you want to get these things done by, right? So I said, by December 31st, 2021, I will 1. Weigh 130 pounds of muscle. 2. Make 52 new YouTube videos. And 3. Break my screen addiction. I took this technique straight out of like the Think and Grow Rich book, because there were some things, even though it's a little pseudoscience-y, there were some things in there that made a bit of sense. And I signed my name, that way I know I'm the one who wrote it. So yeah, I think the like super interesting and useful thing about that is I broke my goals down into things that were pretty measurable with the, you know, forget about the screen addiction thing for a second, we'll get back to that. But things that were pretty measurable and things that can be broken down week by week. Because when you think of everything as a whole year, you're kind of like deer in the headlights, it's overwhelming. You kind of freeze. So you want to break it into small little chunks, little brownie-sized chunks, so that you just demolish those things. So the interesting thing about that is I read this book called When, and When is by this guy named Daniel Pink, and he's basically talking about when are the best times to do things. And when we're thinking about New Year's resolutions and getting motivation, the best times to do new things are on some kind of memorable day, right? And so oftentimes that's the first of a month, or like New Year's resolutions, that's the first of a year. But I really also like to break things down by the first of a week, because that means every Monday you have a new opportunity to restart. You could say, oh, you know, I could restart tomorrow because the sun comes out tomorrow. But I think like just procrastinating to tomorrow is kind of dumb, you know, like you don't get as much out of a new Thursday as you do out of a new Monday. Or also like holidays or birthdays are super useful times to try and turn over a new page. Okay, so I know I said you want things to be measurable, right? Because like Otherwise, how do you know when you fail? But some things are gonna be harder to measure, kind of like my addiction to the screen and knowing when I've broken that habit. Right, like maybe at first it's not totally obvious how you would make that measurable. Although now I'm realizing it's kind of completely obvious. You would measure how much time you spend on your phone and say how much time you want to spend on your phone. But yeah, let's say it's not that simple. And so instead what I do is I decide every single week to do a weekly review. And you should do these with your goals that are measurable and the ones that aren't, right? And so every single week I ask myself, did I make good on that goal or didn't I, right? It's a simple yes or no question. And if I didn't do well on that goal, I ask myself why. And I essentially just change up the little things I need to do to experiment with it the next week. Because if you get into the mindset that to fail one week is to fail your entire New Year's resolution, then I mean, you have, that is a loser's mindset. We have 11 more months in this freaking year. Why would you waste those thinking that just because you didn't do something perfectly one day, like the other 11 months are trash? Now, one thing you do have to recognize is like, if every single week you keep failing at your goals, even when you're reviewing them, even when you keep saying, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it, and then you keep failing, and it's like, maybe you can't do it, right? And maybe you can't do it because you're dumb. No, maybe, I'm just kidding. Maybe you can't do it, not because you're dumb, but maybe you can't do it because it's not actually in alignment with what you really want. I've experienced this before with money, where I've said like, I want to get my financial state to like this point. And I failed on that terribly because I realized what I really wanted wasn't cash. What I really, 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 truly wanted that year was just to have better friendships. And so, yeah, how could I get excited about sitting in every day, working on financial goals when what I really needed was to be socializing? So I think what that means for your New Year's resolutions is you should look at all those things you've told yourself are shoulds, right? Those things you need to get done, the things you should be interested in, and question those. Because, you know, people will tell you you gotta do things by certain ages, or you gotta have something figured out by then and that time. And it's like, if it's really not in alignment with what your heart is gunning after, it's like, no wonder you're sticking your own foot out in front of you so you can fall down. You're not interested in getting to that finish line. You're more interested in the race that's going on over here. So alignment is huge. And how do you figure out what you really want? Google it. And one of the last tips I have for you guys is to set little motivation messages to yourself. For example, I knew January 19th was the day most people give up on their New Year's goals. So I wrote a little email to my future self and I sent it to be delivered yesterday. Oh buddy, did it work. It's always nice to get a little kick in the booty from past you, right? Because past you is so young and naive and has so much energy. And you as future you, who's about to be the dumb you, who's giving up on your goal, you're gonna need that energy. Hone it, put it in an email, send it to the future. You know what else could use a little kick in the booty? Is my Patreon. Feel free to donate down below, and if you don't want to donate your financials, feel free to donate to my soul by watching more of my videos. Bye. And I am telling you, I'm not going. You're the best fans I've ever known. There's no way